Live from Sin City, it's the Socks and Pinstripes Podcast. And now, here's the star of the show, Giant Dr. Griffin!
This is Diet Dr. Griffin back with another episode of the Socks and Pinstripes Podcast. It's actually on a Sox and Pinstripes weekend because the Red Sox and the Yankees are pulling each other. Shane's with us today. How you doing, Shane?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
So, did you hear about Jerry West passing away this past week?
I did hear about that, yes.
Yeah, I know he's an NBA guy, and he was a prolific player, played pretty much his entire career, I believe, with the Los Angeles Lakers. And he was at one time, he was the MVP of a finals where the Lakers lost, which is pretty incredible when you think about it, because they never give that award to somebody that didn't win.
It says normally the MVP performance comes with a winning game. So.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like the NBA Finals going on right now if Luka Doncic got the MVP over, Tatum or Brown of the Celtics.
Yeah.
But one of his West's other claim to fame was that he was the logo of the NBA. And I wonder, did you ever see him on Winning Time before I forget? Did you ever watch Winning Time?
No.
So Winning Time was a show that covered the rise of the Los Angeles Lakers in the early 80s.
Oh, okay.
70s, early 80s.
That was their winning time, so that makes sense.
Yeah, or basically when like Dr. Jerry Buss bought the team and everything, it was done by Adam McKay. And it had a real like goofy kind of spin on it. And they portrayed Jerry West as this like psychotic, angry guy who like smashed the trophies constantly and just yelled at the players and everything. And West himself was like pissed because like this is not an accurate representation of me. And like I can see that. And I think they kind of did that with a few different people. Like, there was one of the episodes, I think it might have been the first episode, they had Kareem doing the film shooting of the movie Airplane. Please tell me you've seen Airplane.
Yes, I have seen Airplane.
Okay, well, you haven't seen Naked Gun, which is like by the same group of people that made Naked Gun. So I was a little worried there. So
I guess it's a fair question. So
yeah. So the scene where Kareem is talking to the kid about like, listen, I had to run up and down the court busting my buns,
yeah,
and, like the kid, and then they have this scene with him afterwards with the kid, and then Kareem tells the kid to F off. And I'm like, Kareem would never do that. Kareem is such a classy guy. Yeah, I can't imagine would tell a kid to F off. Like, no.
Yeah.
But Waiting Time's a fun show if you ever get a chance to watch it. It's
okay. I'll check it out.
It's pretty funny. I don't know how seriously you can take everything about it, but they do make a point like to say some of the more like outlandish details about things like that actually happened. So back to Jerry West being the logo of the NBA kind of got me to thinking, what baseball player, if they wanted to redo the logo of MLB, because it's just just some generic guy looking at like he's gonna swing a bat basically. Like, what guy would have as the logo of Major League Baseball?
I think if we were going to switch up the logo, I'd go for someone like, I'm not saying this just because it's your show, but I like Rafi Devers has that weird open batting stance. I think that would look pretty cool on a logo. Or Ronald Acuna Jr., those guys who have like the open with the straight bat. There's a couple of guys who it looks like they're sitting in a chair, and then they have the bat like right in front of them, like at their waist, like almost tilted over the plate
Mhm.
before they go to swing. It'd be an interesting logo.
I got a few that I like. John Carlos Stanton has just one of the like kind of strangest batting stances, but he just looks like he's gonna go up there and he's very closed off and
Yeah.
he's got this look in his eye like he's just gonna beat the crap out of that ball, but he just oftentimes misses.
Yeah.
It's really it's one of those things. It looks beautiful when he hits a home run, but it looks kind of weird otherwise. Um,
Yeah.
Griffey, after hitting a home run, I feel like is one of the most iconic MLB images.
Yeah.
I think
I think I
that
have his
one.
bobblehead, honestly.
Oh yeah. Um, and it's not really a baseball swing, but I know I'm going Mariners here. Ichiro, when he has that motion, when he would cast the bat out like it was like a sword almost. He
Oh
would
yeah, that like
cast
swipe.
that thing
Yeah.
out, like looking at it, like something about that. I know it's not really like a baseball motion, but something about that is just it's an iconic image, and I
Yeah.
think that
And
would
one
make
of the
you.
best hitters ever in baseball too. So
Oh yeah, oh for sure, he is tremendous.
it's
So
so fun watching him out there in during warmups in the outfield still. So
yeah, and Ichiro could like hit home runs and stuff in batting practice too. He just kind of chose not to during the games.
yeah,
And that's the
exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
crazy thing. Like Ichiro, like got a cannon for an arm. He's tremendous.
Hmm.
So switching off to speak about home runs, we got some cool home run celebrations in across the league now. Like a couple years ago, the Red Sox would like have whenever they got a home run, they would send a guy in a laundry cart and then just push him all down the dugout.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
You got like teams with the Angels have a halo over their head. The Mariners, they got a trident, which is awesome. Um,
The Nats have the powdered wig. That one's pretty good too. I always forget about that.
that is a good one. I know that the Orioles have a splash zone when they hit, but that's like just for like extra base hits and stuff too.
Well, they basically it's called now they got the hydration station. It looks just like a gravity bong essentially, but full of
Yeah.
water. So
The Twinkies though may have taken the cake this week.
yeah, I think you're right.
Even with like the Tigers and their pizza uh spear, which is like reminiscent of the good old days. Because I grew up loving Little Caesars as a kid. That was like my favorite pizza. I think
Yeah,
it's because it was square and I loved the Detroit style. We
yeah,
could have a
exactly.
discussion about Detroit style pizza another day because I love that pizza. But the Twinkies, they had a Prince guitar that Carlos Correa was playing this past week, and that I think is probably the best one.
I mean, it's pretty odd. They had a really good one last year. They had the vest that said instead of saying "Land of a Thousand Lakes," it said "Land of a Thousand Rakes," and then they had the fishing pole. So they're on fire with the celebrations.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite Prince song?
Oh man, so many to choose from. And I was going through and listening to a bunch of his songs today. I just forgot like how every single song slash album is you feel like you've gone on a complete journey from the time it starts until it ends.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to say mine comes from 1999 and it is DMSR.
I don't think I've heard that song. What is do I even want to know what that song means?
Yeah, it's a dance. So DMSR stands for Dance Music Sex Romance. So
Ah. I have to say my favorite Prince song is probably Controversy.
okay, that's a
Is
good one.
that is a funky song. I think Prince and the Revolution. That was like the peak era of Prince.
Yeah.
Everybody in the band had their own images. Uh, did you see the Chappelle Show part with Prince playing basketball with Charlie Murphy?
I mean, I probably have a long time ago, but
That stuff was great. I mean, I wonder if like all of the purple and everything came from, the Minnesota Vikings being purple.
I mean, it could. I mean, we had this conversation, and Prince just does whatever he wants. So.
Oh yeah. I mean like but Prince did write a song for the Minnesota Vikings at one point. And
Yeah,
like then back in the 70s, when the Vikings were big, like they were known as like the purple people eaters. So
I did know that. Yeah.
I just wonder if all of like the purple kind of influenced Purple Rain and all that stuff.
I, as a for personal reasons, I hope that it was not football related, but who knows? So I don't know why I don't want it to be football related. I just don't want it to be football related. So
Well, I'm trying to think of what other reason it could be that purple was such a prominent part of a guy from Minnesota. But a funny thing, I never even listened to Purple Rain. Like I never heard the song Purple Rain until after Prince died.
oh, okay.
Yeah, like I went to the movie theater to see Purple Rain because I had never seen it, and that was one of the things that they did when Prince died was they put that back
Yeah.
in theaters for like a couple weeks. So
Yeah.
I made a special trip to see that movie when Prince passed away because I had never seen it.
Okay. I still have never seen it. I need to get on top of that, but
It's a pretty good flick. It's about like a battle of the bands thing while there's like a romance going on with Prince and Apollonia, and then there's like the magical lakes of Minnetonka talk in the movie. So yeah, we got some other interesting news this week. Jose Abreu, one of the big free agent signings prior to this season, he was cut by the Astros.
yeah, this one caught me completely by surprise. I mean, I knew he was struggling and he got sent down to the minors, but uh they still owe him like 30. They don't want him on the team so bad that they're just eating like $30.8 million to not have him.
Yeah, I mean it's like that's half of this year and all of next year.
Yeah.
I remember like a lot of people saying that the Red Sox should have gotten Abreu, and he was bad last year too. I mean, he got off to a
Yeah.
really, really slow start last year, and this year has pretty much been worse than that. He didn't
Oh
get
yeah.
promoted down like AAA. He got like sent down to like the extended spring training area.
Yeah, to try to fix his swing and he just never got it back. I mean, I honestly think but he's like 37, 38.
Allegedly, I
Oh
think
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I hate to be that guy, but I genuinely think he's from Cuba. I genuinely think he's probably closer to 40, and I think that's why he has fallen off like he has.
Yeah. In the last 2 years. I mean, I think we're gonna actually start to see this quite a bit in the coming years, solely based on not last year, but the 2 years previous, when everyone got those like huge contracts for 8 years at a time or whatever. Eventually, you're going to see these guys at 38, 39. If they're still playing, it's just going to not make sense to keep them no matter how much money they're owed. So,
I think that's what happened with Pujols. I think that's
yeah.
why he was a couple years older than he actually was.
Yeah, that's probably true too. So, because in order to play in America, I think you have to like straight up defect from Cuba. So,
Yeah, and but there's been the situations of other players, not just from Cuba, that have, lied about their age. Miguel Tejada, for example,
yeah, that's true.
he was 2 years older than he actually was, and I think he was like 33 when he won his MVP with the A's instead of 31. Uh, there
Which
was
is
a
always
guy,
interesting because baseball has, you don't really mature as a player until 28, 29, 30. So it's kind of, it's one of those things where it's like being older necessarily isn't a bad thing necessarily, but
I don't know. I thought I could have sworn I read somewhere where like people tend to have their statistically their best years like before the age 26.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, unless you're like Bonds or something where like, you're just such a beast that like teams are just gonna walk you half the time you're at the plate.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, PEDs help with that too. So
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, we can that's a discussion for
yeah,
another day.
I
But
say keep. I mean, you still have to hit the baseball. That's
oh, I
obviously we'll have a
know.
discussion at a different time, but it's still hard to hit the baseball, even if you're taking performance enhancing drugs. So
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of famous, a lot of guys just choosing football over baseball because of the difficulty level. I mean, Kyler Murray. I mean, guys like Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, they all play baseball. I mean, Tom
Patrick
Brady,
Mahomes and the San Diego Chargers guy, what um their quarterback. I don't know what his name is.
Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert. I guess him and Mahomes were actually really good baseball players who decided to play to go into football. So,
I mean, Mahomes' dad played in MLB.
oh yeah, I always forget about that. Who did he play for again?
I'll have to Google it. I'm pretty sure his dad was sort of like a journeyman pitcher. I don't think he really like
Oh, okay,
stayed anywhere um
gotcha.
for any extended period of time.
Yeah. Well, I
There's
guess
a
it makes sense. It would translate, throwing a football 60 miles an hour and then being good at pitching. So,
Yeah, so I mean it's one of those things where it's like a lot of guys are just choosing football over baseball, probably in part because of the difficulty level of it.
yeah. There's a much shorter career in football, though. I mean, I guess there's, drawbacks to both and
Well,
pluses to both. So,
if you're a quarterback, though, it's generally an easier path than if you're, say, like a defensive lineman or something. A lot of these guys are quarterbacks.
yeah, that's true. Because if a quarterback, they expect to get like 10 years out of you, right? Or something close
Yeah,
to that.
yeah, if you're good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it goes without saying. You gotta earn your pay first. So,
Yeah. So, um, another team that's been kind of making some moves this week, the Blue Jays, they cut kind of another little nepo baby in Cavan Biggio.
yeah.
And he was one of the three kind of nepo babies they had over there with Vladdy Jr. and Bo Bichette. Also, Margot Robbie's husband, Daniel Vogelbach, got cut by the Blue Jays, which is a
It
huge
always
loss for
confuses me that they're married, but I guess it shouldn't, but it still
them.
does.
They're
But
not. That's a joke that went around last night.
okay,
There was
perfect.
a bunch of guys who were like rumored to be Margot Robbie's husband, and Daniel Vogelbach's one of them. And if you haven't seen Daniel Vogelbach, he's basically like if Chris Farley was a baseball player.
That is honestly exact. They could not find a more perfect example of how to describe that guy.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Chris Farley as a
Fans were like
baseball.
ready for him to be gone too. I mean, they said some mean stuff on Twitter. Well, I think one of the funniest ones is someone said someone said, "Now that's addition by subtraction."
I think he like described he described hitting home runs as like eating donuts. Like he doesn't always do it, but he does it in bunches when he does.
Yeah, nice.
So Biggio got picked up by the Dodgers, and I think Vogelbach is still kind of waiting on the whole DFA period. So for those who don't know, when you get designated for assignment, there's like a week to 10-day period where you can get traded to another team before you get outright released, or you accept an assignment with the minor league. So there is a bit of a period, a waiting period before you know exactly what's going to happen to the guy.
Yeah,
But the
I'm
Blue,
just crossing my fingers because I always know how Jerry DePoto likes to bargain shop in the almost expired goods section of baseball. I'm just don't do it, Jerry. Don't do it. You're not going to make them better.
Well, don't you guys have a hole at first base with Ty France being hurt right now?
That's what I'm saying. Don't do it,
Oh,
Jerry.
oh,
Don't do it.
don't do it. Don't do it. I care about you. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it, Jerry. I know you're tempted. I know you think you're going to pull these players to a park that's notoriously hard to hit in, and suddenly they're going to be good. But don't do it, Jerry. Don't do it.
It's funny. I remember Teoscar Hernandez talking about that last year. He was saying he had a really hard time kind of seeing the ball at the Mariners ballpark.
I mean, honestly, it explains a lot because we're bad at it. So,
And some teams have altered their ballparks around to try to make it a better hitting environment for them. Like most famously, the Orioles, they put their left field further back, which has helped them be able to improve. The
yeah,
Tigers moved their fences in a little bit because they were having issues with the batting, and Miguel Cabrera was like, "Why couldn't you have done this a few years earlier?"
yeah. I bet he said that. So,
Yeah, because they did it like right the year, they did it last year, and
yeah,
before he
man, that
retired,
park
and it
is
was like,
still just so big too.
yeah, and it hasn't really had much of an effect. And
Yeah.
another team that actually did an adjustment to their ballpark was the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
They did that as well, and it was supposed to make things more hitter friendly for them, but I feel like it's had the exact, I don't know if it's had the exact opposite effect or if the team itself just hasn't been able to figure out how to make things work. But the Blue
I think
Jays,
it's the team itself. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the Blue Jays themselves have just been a team that is just, for whatever reason, they have not been able to put it together. And they have went out and got a lot of good players in free agency. They spent on George Springer. They traded for and extended Jose Barrios. They went
Yeah.
and got Kevin Gausman. They have a good pitching staff. I mean, Jordan
Yep.
Romano, who's presently injured, but he's been top 10 closer. They have like all of the pieces that you would think. I mean, they spent money on Ryu too, who was pretty good, although I think he went back to Korea now.
Yeah.
They just had a core of players that like should be better than they are, but they, for whatever reason, haven't been able to put it together. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I thought the Blue Jays would be much better than they have been, and it just hasn't really resonated yet.
I mean, honestly, I think it's just one of those down years, and also, it doesn't help when you go on record as um, giving the team you're playing in the wild card the largest comeback victory in baseball history in a playoff game. Kind of, it seems like I mean, I want to say as a Mariners fan, they've never recovered from that, and it's been a steady downhill turn since then. But it certainly doesn't help. And not only that, you got a lot of people saying that the only reason that George Springer's still there is because he's still owed money on a couple of years of contract. And he's only batting like 200 right now.
Yeah, Springer has had a bit of a slow start, and Bichette has regressed. Vladdy has regressed too.
Yeah.
I think though some of the Vladdy had a big year when he was MVP candidate, and I think
Yeah.
some of that was because they were playing most of their games outside of their home ballpark.
That could be true. Yeah.
They had that Din place, I think Durden or some place down in Florida that was like rated as like a Coors Field equivalent almost in terms of hitting stats.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought that you think that they haven't really recovered the from the Mariners thing. I think some of it's coaching. I think a lot of
Yeah.
it is with that and their approach.
Yeah.
They as a team just don't seem to have it. And
Yeah.
I know they went out and got Justin Turner to try to help some of that out. I think he's pretty much reached the end of the line for him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I wonder if they're gonna do a full-on retreat or if they're gonna try to do some buying at the deadline.
I think they're gonna do. I would be surprised if they do some buying at the deadline. What it looks like they're doing is they're bringing up some of their younger prospects. I think they're just going to let them play to get some experience this year and just kind of go about it that way. I think, anyways, this is what it seems to me. But
Yeah, I mean it's way too early to say. I definitely
yeah,
want to talk about stuff at the trading deadline, but it's I think still a little early. We still got like at least another few weeks to go
yeah,
before then. We got some players that are kind of getting ready to come back soon. Garrett Cole is on the verge of coming back for the Yankees. If he doesn't come back this week, he's going to probably have one more rehab start. Max Scherzer is about to come back soon.
nice.
Got some other guys, and you know that the Astros are going to try to do something. I don't think they're going to be selling anything, even though they probably should.
Yeah, I would try to. I mean, I love Justin Verlander, but I would try to get your money out of him again. So,
Well, his situation is weird because I think the Mets are paying a large portion of his contract,
oh,
and
so they'll just keep him anyway. Yeah.
I think they're actually I gotta look into this. I think they're actually in a situation where would want him to play enough innings so that he gets that extra year that the Mets had to pay for.
Oh, okay.
I think
That
he's
makes
got like a
sense.
140 inning mark that he has to hit. Some of these contracts are a bit complicated with the vesting options and things. Like Jordan Montgomery's got one of these things where like he gets different levels of vesting and guaranteed on his money if he pitches like 10 starts or like 18 starts or 20,
Oh, okay.
that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the at the rate that Astros pitchers are just dropping off the map, I guess you might as well keep Verlander. So still serviceable. He's struggling right now, but he is 41 years old, which is important to keep in mind. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was even hearing rumblings about Trevor Bauer possibly being signed by the Astros. Like he put up a video of him picking out an Astros hat, and I've heard that they have requested a private workout and watched him do a bullpen session.
it's happening, Trevor. It's happening.
I
Welcome back,
hope, I
baby.
hope, crossing the fingers, I got other friends speculating that the cutting of Abreu was to free up a roster spot for Bauer, and I'm like, maybe, but usually those kind of things aren't interdep and usually those things are independent of each other.
Yeah,
Hey, we're gonna cut this guy and pay him, and you're gonna still have to pay him $30 million over the next, year and a half.
yeah.
Just to sign this pitcher guy, like they could probably find some other guy to DFA.
They could, but it's Trevor Bauer. So
I know the Astros have Lance McCullers and Luis Garcia kind of coming back from injury, but I don't think they're going to be there till
yeah.
second half.
For Mariners relievers, you got Matt Brash, who I for sure thought was going to have Tommy John surgery, but apparently he's a couple weeks out. And then Gregory Santos, the Baltimore Orioles reliever that we acquired in a trade, he's about to come back too. I'm excited to see that guy throw because he was lights out with the Orioles. So
Yeah, and speaking of the Orioles, they had Kyle Bradish going on the injured list for the sprained UCL that he had to begin the season with.
yeah, he
And
should just got the surgery
yeah,
probably.
I mean, I don't see how this ends any other way for him. And I
Yeah,
literally did an episode about this, so I don't want to root for somebody to to be hurt or whatever.
you
But
never do.
like
Yeah,
this was inevitable. I mean, you got a UCL sprain and you're still pitching. You're probably going to make it worse, not make it better.
yeah,
And
exactly. No,
I feel for them because they've already lost Tyler Wells and John Means to Tommy John surgery this year.
Yeah.
And I think Means is on his second Tommy John surgery.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, you got Gunnar Henderson just hitting dingers right behind Aaron Judge, so that's got to help.
Oh yeah, and they still have so many hitters in that offense of theirs especially in the minors. I mean, they've still got top prospects. They probably will have to make a move at the deadline to get another frontline pitcher.
Yeah, one would hope. I mean, that'd be cool to see the Mariners trade their um make a trade with one of their younger pitchers for some offensive players from the Orioles would be pretty cool to see. But
Hasn't Brian Wu been having a lot of arm issues too?
yeah, honestly, I think the first time he went down, he's already had Tommy John too, I think. The first time he went down, I said he's going to be done for the season, but he came back and now he's down again. I mean, honestly, I would just rest the guy, get him to throw a couple of really good games again, and then try to move him at the trade deadline is what I would do while he's still playing. Otherwise, I mean, I just think he's got a big surgery coming stamp on his forehead, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, there's another guy, Garrett Crochet of the White Sox. He is, I think, a guy that somebody is going to trade for and probably is going to blow up in their face.
yeah.
And I say that having him on my fantasy team. And
Yeah.
the reason I say that is because he has already pitched more. He's a converted reliever, and he has already pitched more innings this year at like 72 than he did the entirety of his MLB career.
Yeah, I mean,
Dating
it's
back to
either going to
2020.
work out or it's not. And, generally with the way that they're throwing these guys out there and what they're telling them to do, it's, probably err on the side of not working out. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where I don't know if he's gonna get Tommy John surgery necessarily. I just think it's one of those things where like he's just gonna break down and get some kind of injury just because the guy hasn't pitched, enough. It hasn't pitched over 100 innings really anywhere. Guy was a reliever. I mean, I had the same concerns about Seth Lugo, honestly, when he did his converted starter thing. And honestly, he has proven me wrong so far. He's been
yeah.
able to stay healthy and pitch, but I just kind of wonder with some of these converted guys when the wheels are going to kind of fall off, when something durability wise is going to come up.
Yeah, and it's not like necessarily that, I mean, we want these people to be successful, but you just every day you watch them, you're like, oh, okay, I'm hoping for the best for you right
Yeah,
now.
I mean,
So,
pitchers in many sense have become the running backs of MLB
yeah,
because
I think you're
they,
absolutely right.
in many instances, they just will throw them out there and have them pitch at these higher speeds, and they will just go until their arms fall off. And
That's what it seems like.
yeah, and what's interesting is that I listen to other podcasts and they talk about how pitchers are now, some of them anyway, are sacrificing strikeouts and more pitching to contact. Corbin Burns, in fact, has lower strikeout numbers this year and is one of those guys.
Okay.
And I wonder if he's trying to stay healthy and make sure that he gets his big payday because he's likely to be the top pitching free agent this year.
Yeah. Well, and if you throwing one pitch and having them ground out is better than, throwing eight and getting the strikeout for your arm's sake. So,
Yeah, and that's really how it used to be.
yeah.
Players didn't strike out at the same levels they strike out at now. They don't they were more interested in putting the ball into play.
Yeah.
So you saw a lot more of that.
Well, Marco Gonzalez was a really great classic example of a content. I mean, he was the Mariners anchor for of all the dark years before the rebuild finally took hold in the playoff berth 2 years ago. But
I think it's
it was
like
sure fun to watch him. It's a dying art. So
I think that's kind of a lot of the Mariner philosophy is to not really throw a lot of balls and just kind
Yeah.
of throw the ball over the plate. I know Kirby's like allergic to trying to throw walks.
And honestly, he's getting roughed up a little bit because of it. I mean, you listen to players. I mean, he's still electric, and when he's on, he's on. But some players, though, in interviews after the game, like when they hit home runs or whatever, be like, "Oh yeah, you were down like in an 0-2 count, you know," and then you hit that home run. He's like, "Yeah, well, you know, I know George Kirby. I know he's going to be in the strike zone, and I think some of that's coming back to bite him a little bit." So
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what adjustments people make because I do think that it's in the best interest of pitchers to try to find a middle ground. But I mean,
yeah,
Tyler Glass now is a guy who basically blamed his Tommy John surgery on trying gripping the ball too fast when they took away the sticky stuff ban. And
yeah,
they talked to him about would he do anything differently over like chasing velocity. He said no. He
yeah,
was like, this is the way we got to go, and people are just kind of riding on the razor's edge with that.
yeah. I say bring back the sticky stuff. Let it ride.
I do too. I think there is an acceptable middle ground between like straight up spider tack and like
Yeah, yeah.
cold turkey nothing.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think there's
honestly, it's kind of like, you're just going off the smack, no problem, just having sweats and all sorts of tremors and whatnot. It's kind of what you're seeing out there right now. So,
yeah, I think it'd be good for the game if you just had some middle ground, and maybe they'll come up with something during the CBA talks next year. But
yeah,
I'm not overly optimistic about that. We can talk about Tony the Tiger in the off season when that's going to be more applicable.
yeah, for sure. Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, Tony Clark for those who don't know. They're great. And on that note, let's end the show here. It was a nice episode. Thank you, Shane, for coming on and talking to us,
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
bringing the Mariners love.
Oh,
And
you don't have to. So,
oh yeah. I mean, you guys got a 7.5 game lead in the division, man. You guys
it's time
deserve.
to start believing. Let's go.
You guys are legit, man. You guys are legit. I mean, I think you guys have just don't give up. Just keep on keeping on, and hopefully Jerry will get you guys some bats in the next couple of weeks, months, so next month and a half. Really, the
Fingers
earlier
crossed.
you guys move, the better, honestly.
I think so too.
I,
So,
I think the Padres getting a rise really early. I thought that was a really, really smart move on their part to get that done. And I think teams out there should be trying to buy now if they
yeah,
can, especially with like the White Sox who've got like nobody. They're not doing
yeah,
anything. They should be just like making moves right now. Just slam the foot on the gas and just go.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that does it for today's episode. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good week, guys.